and rivers overflow in Pennsylvania.
But I would be submerged at least waist up, so that's how dramatic this water is flowing in.
Just days after lightning strikes on a boat at sea and a group of teens playing soccer, we'll have important information to help keep you safe.
Blue sky here thundering over there, and they think they're safe. But if you hear thunder, you can be struck.
Speaking of staying safe, how you can help your dog feel safe during Friday's fireworks shows.
They're not just afraid of the loud booms, they also can smell the explosive, the dust that's settling off the fireworks.
And the danger lurking on the water's surface in California.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Well, good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Eileen Whalen. Well, while you slept, Flossie strengthened into a Category 1 hurricane. This morning, the storm is spinning off Mexico's southern Pacific coast, and it's already bringing rainy and windy conditions to Acapulco. Flossie is the third hurricane of the Pacific season, following Barbara and Eric. So how will this one develop compared to the other two? California meteorologist Chris Kuiper has details.
Now the next question is, where is Flossie going? Is it going to make another landfall like Eric did and cause a lot of damage? This one looks to be a little different. As we get forward in time here towards Wednesday morning, it's getting strength. Notice it has wind speeds of about 110 miles an hour at that time, but that looks to be the peak of strength with Hurricane Flossie. And by the time we get towards about 4th of July here, it's going to weaken back to a tropical depression there off the coastline of Cabo San Lucas. And then we go towards the 5th of July, and it pretty much dissipates off the coastline of Baja, Mexico. Never makes landfall in Mexico, thankfully. Probably will cause a bunch of rain near the coastline and kick up the surf a little bit, but not making any kind of direct landfall, which is great news for Mexico. We may see some of this moisture try to sneak northward into California early next week and could spark some thunderstorms in the mountains. We'll worry about that next week, but for the time being, it looks like Flossie will be staying off the coastline of Mexico and not making any kind of landfall.
Well, the National Hurricane Center is also monitoring an area of interest near Florida. Right now, it has just a 30% chance of becoming a named storm, although no matter what happens, Florida will get heavy rain later this week. Meteorologist Jennifer Collins has more on the history of hurricane development in July.
As ocean temperatures heat up through July, the tropics begin to wake up during this point of the season. Compared to June, July looks a bit further east for development, with the formation areas focusing in the eastern Caribbean Sea, the northern Caribbean, the Gulf, and the southeast coast of the United States. This is also the time of the year when tropical waves begin to move off the coast of Africa, but those waves will become more robust and organized as we approach the peak of hurricane season. In July, about one named storm forms every year during this month. And while this is much lower than the peak season months, this doesn't mean that all Julys are quiet. Last July, Hurricane Beryl, which started off as a tropical wave in the Atlantic's main development region in the end of June, strengthened into a major hurricane into early July. Beryl is the earliest Category 4 and 5 hurricane on record in the Atlantic. The storm would go on to be the strongest hurricane to ever make landfall in Grenada. This is a look at all of the hurricanes that have made landfall in the U.S. in July. The only hurricane to make landfall in Florida in July was Hurricane Dennis in the very active 2005 hurricane season. The storm originated in the central Caribbean on the 4th of July and made landfall in Cuba before moving into the Gulf, intensifying again into a major hurricane before making landfall again on July 10th on Navarre Beach in Florida's western panhandle. Dennis is the only major hurricane to ever make landfall in the U.S. in July. We're still weeks away from the peak of hurricane season in early September. This is when we see the most activity in the Atlantic basin, and most of the major hurricanes that have impacted Florida occur after the peak of hurricane season.
Well, we have a developing situation in central Pennsylvania this morning. There were more than 50 water rescues in Lancaster County overnight after 4 to 5 inches of rain fell. And in some places, the water has yet to recede. Fatima Moen is covering the floods this morning.
And so you can just see how high and how fast that water's coming in. I mean, from that far distant water, and then all that just coming in with the runoff. I mean, folks and their basements are flooded this morning along here in West Sun Hill Road here in Lancaster County. Again, this is kind of what we've been covering all morning, but since the sun has come up, it's really, really intriguing to see just how dirty the water is and, of course, how high up it comes. Now, if I do bring you in a little closer here, I'm not going to get in too deep, but again, this road dips down and it goes up into that bridge. So again, if I were to even, I really couldn't stand there, but I would be submerged at least waist up. So that's how dramatic this water is flowing in. And of course, it's just not safe for folks to drive across.
Well, the Northeast is on alert for more severe storms today. The Storm Prediction Center issued a level 2 out of 5 risk for the 31 million people who live along the I-95 corridor between New York City and Central Virginia. This also includes Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. And the greatest threat from these storms later today is strong winds and flash flooding as we head through the day. Well, lightning kills an average of 20 people every year in the United States. And while 90% of people struck survive, many suffer serious injuries. And that's why it is so important to take cover when a storm approaches. This morning, we have reports on 2 separate lightning incidents from last weekend, one on land and one on a boat in the ocean. Plus, advice on what you should do when lightning strikes. We start in Columbus, Ohio, where 2 teens were critically injured during a soccer game. Kirsten Linkvist begins our coverage.
He's not moving. He's burned completely.
Kevin Brown was one of those 911 callers.
Everybody around him, about at least 20 feet, they all fell out.
Brown says he quickly performed CPR on one of the victims. Ohio health doctor Brad Gable tells me the most life-threatening time for a patient struck by lightning is within the first hour.
The electricity can cause that system to short circuit and the heart could stop. It can also cause problems with the nerves and make people stop breathing.
Physicians said in addition to the jolt to the central nervous system, victims could see scarring and burns.
Not only on the surface of the skin, but also internally as well, that can cause swelling and later need surgery and things like that.
Nearby residents like Brown say there was no indication a storm was coming to the area.
No thunder, it just started raining, and all of a sudden, a lightning strike.
The initial hit was a very loud bang. At that time, all electronics just went blank.
For the first time in nearly 5 decades on the water, Captain Mark Marhefka was struck by lightning.
Of course, I was at the wheel here, and the buttons come flying out of the VHF and hit me in the head. I got a little bit of a tingle. My hand was on the wheel.
He and his crew were about 55 miles off Charleston's coast Saturday morning when a days-long fishing trip turned into a grueling 20-hour journey back to safety.
We've had lightning pop around us all the time. We've been in all kinds of storms through the years, but never anything that actually hit me.
Now Marhefka is looking at a possible $20,000 to $25,000 price tag to repair the Amy Marie's mapping and navigation system, antenna, and any other damages.
The navigation system, of course, has all my numbers on it, and so they are actually fishing spots that we go and historically go back to, and I just don't know if I'm going to be able to retain those or not.
Determined to not be slowed down,
I've been feeding people for well over 40 years, and that's very important to me.
Blue sky here, thundering over there, and they think they're safe. But if you hear thunder, you can be struck.
ABC 3340 meteorologist Evan Chigbera calls this a bolt from the blue.
These thunderstorms are so active that you'll have these arcs of lightning come out, and they're very, very common in these open areas like lakes, ballparks, any open fields.
Chigbera noted most lightning is cloud to cloud, around 80%, but what does reach the ground is extremely powerful. While being in or around a body of water, think about having some type of radar app to determine where storms are and if shelter is needed.
It's really not worth staying out there. Most of these storms don't last for too long, but get somewhere that's not out in the open water. Don't be near a tree on the side of the lake, because those are going to be areas that are most likely hit.
Well, coming up here on the National Weather Desk, we have important information to help your dog feel safe during Friday's fireworks shows. And what experts are saying about this year's wildfire season in the Pacific Northwest.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. There is the chance for some strong to severe thunderstorms today in the Northeast, particularly during the afternoon and evening. Areas in the green here. We have the chance for isolated severe storms down to New Jersey. There's the chance for some scattered severe thunderstorms, damaging winds, the primary threat. A lot of morning showers in northern New England. They're moving out. Most areas today in the Northeast will break into some sun. It's going to get hot. It's going to get humid. There's that line of late-day thunderstorms with the potential for damaging wind.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. We're expecting another wave of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Your Tuesday will continue to be very warm and humid until these storms roll in. Widespread activity along this cold front, and some of them could be strong to severe with damaging winds and possibly some flash flooding. Once this front very slowly clears by on Wednesday, you'll start to see some improvements, but that'll take some time, and it will not happen until the afternoon. Temperatures very warm into the upper 80s to low 90s.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. It is going to be another toasty day here. Tuesday, we are expecting your afternoon high temperatures to be all in the upper 80s, lower 90s, with the exception of this one slice of the area from Alabama into central Georgia, where temperatures will be closer to the mid 80s. This is all due to widespread showers and storms starting around midnight Tuesday, and they'll last throughout the day thanks to a cold front combining with this weak low pressure system sitting off in the Gulf of America.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
These are rare cirrocumulus clouds hanging over Little Rock, Arkansas. They are high-altitude clouds that appear as thin white areas of ripples or small puffs, and they don't last long, typically freezing into other high clouds. Compare that to a shelf cloud like this one in Florida. It's much lower in the sky and is typically found on the leading edge of a thunderstorm.
For more content like this, subscribe to the National Weather Desk's YouTube channel.
Well, Europe is facing one of the worst heat waves in its history. Italy, France, and Spain are among the countries setting all-time heat records. Barcelona just had its hottest June since record-keeping began 100 years ago. Paris is expected to reach 104 degrees later today. Now, the suffocating heat can feel even worse because air conditioning is still frowned upon in some places. Now, the extreme heat also stoked wildfires in several nations. An elevated wildfire threat is expected to extend throughout the week. Well, temps are jumping for a few days across the Pacific Northwest, and that means fire danger is only going to increase heading into the driest part of the year. Theron Zahn shows us what the experts are saying about this year's fire season.
As we start the first warm, dry stretch of summer, wildland fire officials say it's time to start thinking about what the rest of summer will look like when it comes to fire danger. The latest fire potential outlook map from the National Interagency Fire Center says for July, most of our state will have above normal wildland fire potential. This factors in how much rain we've seen and how much dry brush is around to burn. The current map of fires burning in our state from the Department of Natural Resources shows just one large fire. It's in the Okanagan-Wenatchee National Forest and has burned a little over 1,000 acres. But this map could quickly change, given how dry our spring has been. Overall, according to the Washington State Department of Ecology, some of the driest areas of our state this spring were along the eastern slopes of the Cascades and in the Blue Mountains, the very areas that tend to see the greatest wildland fire activity. And not a lot of relief is in sight. The forecast from the National Weather Service is calling for mostly dry weather west of the Continental Divide.
Well, you can learn much more about wildfire preparations across the West by visiting our YouTube channel. We have many stories on the upcoming wildfire season in the Wildfire playlist. Well, the 4th of July is Friday, which means food, fun, and fireworks. The yearly thunderous displays are exciting for us, but are an entirely different experience for our fur babies. Emily Gracie spoke with a dog training expert for more about how to help them feel safe during the celebration.
Whether it's thunder or fireworks, anything that's loud and explosive in the air, dogs have a much greater sense of hearing than we do. We also have to remember that dogs have a very strong sense of smell. So with the 4th of July fireworks, they're not just afraid of the loud booms and like the shaking that's happening, you know, in the air, the reverberation. They also can smell the explosive, the dust that's settling off the fireworks. So it's all of these different senses that are novel and scary. And when dogs are unsure of things, it's natural for them to be apprehensive, just like with people. But it's a lot easier to explain to children, oh, we're celebrating. All of these bombs in the air are for fun. For our dogs, we can't communicate clearly to them. And so through training, we can try to help create positive associations to these sounds. But it is very natural for dogs to be afraid. And so it's our job as their humans who love them to really do everything we can to help them feel safe.
Okay, so let's talk preparation. What can we do today, and then what can we do when we head out to enjoy the fireworks on the 4th?
You want to help create a safe space in your home for your dog. So whether that's a crate, an exercise pen, a bedroom, you want to think about when your dog is calm, relaxed, and sleeping, where are they most comfortable cuddling up? Do they like to sleep on your bed? Do they love their crate? Do they like to go underneath their bed? So I would create a space, and I would think about giving them anything that's positive, mental enrichment to help give them something to do that has a positive association to the fireworks.
Let's say you're not even a pet owner, but it's the 4th of July and a random dog has shown up in your yard because it's fled home. What do you do if you find a stray animal?
Oh my gosh, that's a really great question. So I think we all have to be neighborly and really be conscious that there's going to be a lot of animals who may go missing. So look to see if that dog has a tag that identifies who their owner is. In that case, call them. Otherwise, you want to take your dog to the local shelter because they can scan for a microchip, or you can take the dog to a veterinarian, but you really want to do everything you can to unite the dog with the owner.
Such great information, and this was just part of a longer interview with Laura that we have posted on our on our YouTube page, and you can find it in the interviews playlist. Well, there's a warning for swimmers at a lake outside of Bakersfield, California. Think twice before jumping in because there's a health hazard lurking on the water's surface. Maria Celeste Alfaro tells us more.
Nathan Blue, a resident of Lake Isabella, says he doesn't go fishing as often to the lake after he found out there was algae blooms. He doesn't trust the water, especially after the passing of a retired teacher who would go kayaking every day.
She ended up with a stomach infection from swallowing lake water, and she passed.
Harmful algae blooms are often caused by cyanobacteria and can form in warm or still waters. They usually occur in late summer to early fall. Some algae blooms release toxins which can harm humans, pets, and wildlife. According to public health, children and pets are most at risk because of their smaller size. If exposed, it could cause eye irritation, skin rash, vomiting, and more. Ken Benoit, another local, shared his reasons for avoiding the lake.
I don't trust going out in the lake so much. My dog got sick once.
Assistant Director Amy Rutledge of Kern County Public Health says they monitor the lake.
We go every month and we do a visual assessment to look for signs of algal blooms.
Rutledge advises everyone to be careful if they engage in recreational lake activities.
If you think that you've been exposed to the toxins from an algal bloom, our advice is going to be to seek medical attention.
Well, harmful algal blooms can happen around the world in fresh, salt, or brackish water. When you visit the lake or beach for recreation, you're going to want to stay out of any smelly, scummy, or discolored water. Also, keep an eye out for any swimming or fishing advisories. Well, sunlight is essential for crops to grow, but soon more northern Michigan farmers may use the power of the sun to help keep their farms running altogether. Cody Bear explains the new research being done that could save farmers money.
When you think of a farm, you might think of crops, equipment, maybe even a few greenhouses.
We do produce produce 52 weeks a year.
But something that may not come to mind are rows of solar panels. But you might be seeing more of these around the state.
The state of Michigan has goals for increasing their renewable energy production. So do many energy companies. So one avenue that's very much on the radar is solar energy.
Michigan State University is kicking off research into agrivoltaics, the use of solar energy on farms.
The goal of this research is to explore the feasibility of being able to do both. Both use that farmland for harvesting solar energy and grow agricultural commodities, food crops, other crops underneath those solar arrays.
The research is underway, testing the solar arrays with apple orchards in Oceana County, but MSU doesn't expect it to stop there.
Our goal is not to just start and stop looking at tree fruit, but to be able to expand our research footprint to look at other commodities.
Well, as the nation prepares to celebrate its 249th birthday on Friday, we go to break with shots of Independence Hall in Philadelphia.
Well, a very good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Look at all the sunshine across the plains today. Kicking some rain out of the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes, and we are looking a little quiet for most of us for the day today. As we slowly see the temperatures warming up over the next several days, the 90s are going to continue to spread across the Midwest as we head towards Wednesday and Thursday. Most of us is fairly dry as we head through the middle part of the week.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. Temperatures a little cool, particularly for our friends up at Amarillo. We're looking 66 there, really warm and humid down along the coast. Lots of tropical moisture in the way. We've got a very weak front sliding up toward North Texas. Tropical moisture moving up, so that means a good opportunity for rain out across the state again today. It's going to be another warm and humid day. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Well, hi there, everybody, and good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. It's the 1st of July, and we have really typical weather across the west, including the fog back in the city by the bay, just mid-60s, thanks to that low stratus coming through the Golden Gate in Northern California. Thunderstorms bubbling up thanks to the monsoonal moisture potentially over the desert southwest and back towards Salt Lake City later this afternoon, and the heat continues in the Pacific Northwest. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, severe summer storms can often include microbursts. They can cause extensive damage and even be life-threatening. Montana meteorologist Mitchell Coombs takes a closer look.
As with all severe weather, we first need a thunderstorm to develop. These storms develop as air rises, cools, and condenses. As the storm continues to grow, it'll sometimes encounter a layer of dry air in the mid-levels. This dry air causes that rising air to cool even faster and become more dense in a process known as evaporative cooling. Dense air is more difficult for the updraft of the storm to keep aloft, and eventually it becomes so heavy it comes crashing to the surface. As this rapidly descending air reaches the surface, it must spread outward in a localized area. Microbursts often produce winds of 40 to 70 miles per hour, but the strongest of them can produce winds exceeding 100 miles per hour.
Well, you can find more explanations like that on our social pages. We're on all of your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Eileen Whalen. Make it a great day, and we will see you back here tomorrow.